Hi guys, it's Jason. I'm back again today to give you another English lesson. Today it's actually a holiday. Today is Easter Sunday. So I'm going to give you 15 questions and answer them for you so you know a little bit about how Easter is celebrated in different countries around the world. So here's our first question. Why do Christians celebrate Easter? To Christians, this is probably the biggest holiday of the year because it's the day that we celebrate Jesus' resurrection. To be resurrected means that to die and then come back to life again. So Christians believe that today is the day that Jesus came back to life after being crucified. Today, because Easter always falls on a Sunday, it is also the reason that Christians go to church on Sunday. Jewish people go to church on Saturday. Muslims actually go to church on many days of the week, but the most important day for them is on Monday. But Sunday is for Christians. All right, here's number 2. Why are eggs such a big part of the holiday? Well, the answer, Easter eggs are part of the Easter tradition because they represent both fertility and rebirth. Children get a lot of eggs on Easter Sunday. So today my daughter got 2 hard-boiled eggs, and I'm a little sorry to her because in America she would have gotten many chocolate eggs, but she didn't get any this year. All right, next, what color are Easter eggs and what do the colors signify? Why are the colors important? Well, Easter eggs, sometimes they are colored red, okay? The red symbolizes the blood of Jesus. Otherwise, they're all usually colored light colors. Light blue, yellow, and pink are all colors that stand for rebirth and renewal. And green is a color that stands for hope and eternal life. You will not see black Easter eggs. Okay. What is the most popular game to play on Easter? Well, children like to play all kinds of games on Easter. Sometimes, usually they involve eggs. So you might have like an egg toss where 2 people throw an egg back and forth and try not to break it. Or you may have an egg relay race where you have to roll an egg from one distance and back. But the most popular game, it's an Easter egg hunt. So parents often buy plastic eggs and then they put candy inside the plastic eggs. And then they let the children look through the house or through the church, sometimes in the field outside, and they look for as many eggs as they can. Remember, each egg has chocolate inside. So they're very motivated. The more eggs you find, the more chocolate you get. All right. Are Easter gifts put under a tree like Christmas? Easter is a big holiday, so people do give gifts on Easter Sunday. Do they put their gifts under a tree? The answer is no. Candy and presents are put in Easter baskets like this one here, instead of wrapped up in special paper, okay? The baskets, by the way, are representative of birds' nests. So if you want to find eggs in nature, go find a bird's nest. All right, next question. What mythological character personifies Easter? Well, maybe the most famous character around the world is Santa Claus. He personifies Christmas. We have Jack Skellington, who personifies Halloween. We have the leprechaun, who personifies St. Patrick's Day. But who personifies Easter? Answer, the Easter Bunny. Now, the Easter Bunny, the tradition of celebrating the Easter Bunny probably started in Germany during the Middle Ages. Now, Easter Bunny is a symbol all over the world. Now, here's something interesting for you. Remember, Easter is a Christian holiday, but the New Testament of the Bible, which is all about Jesus and his teachings, there's no mention of a bunny at all in the New Testament of the Christian Bible. Okay. How much money do people spend on Easter candy? The answer might surprise you. It is more than $2.6 billion. So now Americans spend $2.6 billion on Easter candy every year. Okay, that is the most for any holiday of the year. So the second most holiday is Halloween, and then Christmas and Valentine's Day take third place. But lots of candy on Easter Sunday. Okay, how are pretzels related to Easter? Pretzels actually became part of the Easter tradition because of Catholic priests. Catholic priests had very strict eating habits for 40 days before Easter. Those 40 days are called Lent. And so one of the things that Catholic priests and Catholics in general are allowed to eat are pretzels. Now the pretzel has a curved shape like this. So it's a symbol of a priest praying. So that's why the pretzels have that shape. Okay, we mentioned Lent. Now that's related to these two questions. What are Ash Wednesday and Fat Tuesday? Well, if Easter is always on a Sunday, then 40 days before that, not including Sundays, which is a little confusing to me too, but 40 days before Easter is always on a Wednesday. So Ash Wednesday is the first day of Lent. Many Christians will give up something for those 40 days. So maybe they give up meat, they give up alcohol, they give up chocolate, they give up all of the above. Some people will give up, maybe give up playing video games. They give up going to movies for 40 days. So if the first day of that is Ash Wednesday, the day before is called Fat Tuesday. Now, Fat Tuesday, if you're not allowed to eat meat for several weeks, people will eat a lot of meat on Fat Tuesday. If you're not allowed to drink alcohol, well, not everybody, but many people will go and drink a lot of alcohol on Fat Tuesday. And then they don't drink any alcohol for the next several weeks. By the way, the Fat Tuesday, its name in French is very famous. The French name for Fat Tuesday is called Mardi Gras. Many people like to celebrate Mardi Gras, so with parties, parades, and other forms of excess right before Lent begins. So, next question, where is the biggest Mardi Gras parade in the world? Well, Mardi Gras is celebrated in many countries, but the biggest celebration in the world is in Rio de Janeiro. If you don't know, Rio de Janeiro is one of the biggest cities in Brazil, which is a very Catholic country. So more than 2 million people celebrate Mardi Gras in Rio every year. In America, the biggest celebration, it takes place in New Orleans, which is also a French city. And people actually like to celebrate in Venice, Italy as well. Venice is sometimes known as the city of canals. Okay, so the next question we have, what do people eat on Easter Sunday? The answer, it's ham. Ham is chosen, especially in America. 90% of Americans eat ham on Easter Sunday. Now, ham, again, depending on the size of the ham you have, you usually bake it, but it can take up to 4 hours in the oven to cook. So it's not something you cook lightly. Another reason why Americans or a lot of Christians like to eat ham is because Jewish people and Muslims are not allowed to. But ham is special meat, especially for Christians. So Buddhists and strict Hindus, they're vegetarians. They don't eat it at all. So ham is kind of the Christian meat. I haven't had a good Easter ham in a few years, but I'm already thinking about the next one. All right, just a couple more questions. Next, what do New Yorkers do on Easter? New York is famous for a lot of different holidays, especially Independence Day. They have big hot dog contests in New York on New Year's Eve. So everybody watches Times Square in New York. But New Yorkers actually host a parade on Easter every year. The tradition started in New York more than 100 years ago. In the late 19th century, people started celebrating Easter with a parade. And it's a long parade too. The parade typically lasts about 6 hours. Okay, when is Easter? Easter is a very confusing holiday for many Americans. So most of the time, when an American wants to know when Easter is, they have to look at a calendar because it is confusing. One answer, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, if you live in Northern Asia, if you live in Europe, if you live in the US, Easter is always in the springtime. Okay? If you live in Australia, if you live in South Africa, well, then it's in the fall. But when do we celebrate Easter? Easter actually is the only Western holiday that depends on the moon. It is celebrated the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. Now it's confusing, so let me explain a little bit more. The spring equinox is considered the first day of spring to Americans. It is the day when day and night are equal. So it's the end of winter to me. And so the spring equinox typically falls around the 21st of March. So that means that Easter is always going to be late March or April. Okay, so today, April 20th, it's a late Easter for us this year. Last weekend was the full moon, the first full moon of spring. So that's why today is Easter Sunday. Okay, what are other types of Easter candy? Again, Americans go crazy for chocolate, okay? The most common chocolate are chocolate eggs. You can actually get chocolate Easter bunnies. So my mother put one chocolate Easter bunny in my basket every year. And by the way, Americans typically eat the ears off of the Easter bunny first. They start from the head down. But two other very popular types of Easter candy include jelly beans and Peeps. Peeps is a very popular marshmallow treat. Originally, it was made in a factory in Pennsylvania. Now it's actually made many places. Peeps can come in many colors, but the most common color is yellow. So, and remember, they're made out of marshmallows. So they are absolutely very, very unhealthy. So kids love them. All right. So last question we have today is, why is the week before Easter important? Well, the week before Easter is actually 8 days, including Easter Sunday and the Sunday before that. It's full of big events, well, because it's the last week of Jesus' time on earth. So the Sunday before Easter, last Sunday, is called Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday was the day that Jesus entered the city of Jerusalem for the last time. So on that day, people lined up outside the city and they put down either their cloaks or they put down palm tree branches, and Jesus rode over them to go into the city. On Friday, the Friday before Easter, we call it Good Friday. Germans actually call it Sorrow Friday, which makes sense because Sorrow Friday or Good Friday is the day that Jesus died. So we call it Good Friday because that means that Jesus' suffering on earth was over. And then that's why on the third day, Easter Sunday, he rose again from the dead. But one more day that I'd like to talk about is about this picture right here. This is a painting by Leonardo da Vinci. It's called The Last Supper. Jesus is sitting down with his disciples. And in this picture, this is a symbol of the very first communion. Communion is a ceremony that Christians go through. Sometimes they do it every week. Sometimes Christians do it just a few times a year. So at my church today, we celebrated communion. And that is where we ate a small piece of bread and we drank a small glass of either grape juice or wine. Now, the very first communion, though, happened right here. So Jesus said, "This is my body." And, well, if you want to know the whole story, you should go and ask a pastor who can do a much better job than me. But the week before Easter is actually has two different names I've heard it called. Some people call it Passion Week. Other people call it Holy Week. But it ends today on Easter Sunday. So if you understood everything that I said today, wow, you did a marvelous job. I want to say congratulations, and I hope that you really enjoyed this lesson on the trivia behind Easter. So take care, and I'm looking forward to talking to you soon. Bye.